The sky had been gray for 20 years, not from clouds or ash, but from something deeper, something the world had never fully understood. It began the day he vanished. People didn't say his name anymore, not because they forgot, but because, speaking it felt like tempting fate. The world had gone on, yes, but it had never been the same. The oceans still moved, cities still buzzed, but the spark, the light, was gone. Lyra stood at the edge of the old observatory, wind brushing her cheeks like a whisper from the past. The rusted telescope still pointed upward, useless now, scanning skies that hadn't shown stars since that day. Her breath trembled as she pulled the black-gloved hand from her coat pocket and held the small metal disc out into the golden hour sun. What little warmth still reached Earth's surface. The disc vibrated softly in her palm. It had been silent for years, but now it pulsed again, calling her here. She didn't need to ask why. Somewhere deep in her bones, she already knew. The last time she had seen him, he wasn't a man. Not anymore. Not entirely. He had gone into the rift above Saturn to save what was left of the human fleet. That act alone made him a legend. But what made him a ghost was what came next. The disappearance, the silent years, and the sudden dimming of every solar signature on Earth. People said he took the light with him. Lyra didn't believe in myths, but the math never added up, until now. She crouched beside the console, typing slow commands into the cracked screen. The observatory's old uplink groaned to life. Dust blew from ancient vents. Power surged. A frequency locked in, 6.38 petahertz. Impossible. That frequency had been scrubbed from the planetary registry. Only he used it. The signal wasn't just noise. It was a message. One word, one pulse. Repeating, over and over. Home. Lyra staggered back, heart racing. The disc in her hand spun. Lights blinked. The sky, once dull and silver, began to shift. She blinked hard. At first, she thought it was a trick of the sunset. But no, there was color now. Deep, rich amber streaking across the clouds. People stepped out of homes. Pilots looked up from grounded aircraft. The world stopped moving. For a breath, then another. Then they watched. The golden hue was growing, slow, majestic, unreal. Lyra fell to her knees as her mind raced back to that day. He had kissed her goodbye at the launch deck, said nothing heroic, just that he'd be back. Then he'd smiled, like it was the most ordinary day in the universe. She remembered that smile more vividly than his face, more than his voice. That smile had held galaxies. It had carried hope. And then it was gone. Until now. She scrambled for the uplink again. "Is it really you?" she whispered. "Tell me where you are." The message shifted. 2 words now. "Look up." She did. High above the atmosphere, where no satellites had orbited in years, something glowed. It was not a ship. Not at first. It looked like a crack in space itself. Thin, golden, pulsing with warmth. Then it opened wider, like a wound healing in reverse. A silhouette stepped through. Humanoid, tall, familiar. The world's feeds lit up with chaos. The UN scrambled emergency protocols. Defense satellites spun back online, but they were already too late, because the people had already believed. They had seen, and they remembered him. He fell through the sky like a meteor, burning gold. But nothing burned. Trees below him leaned as if in prayer. The air shimmered. People cried out, some in fear, some in joy. Lyra ran. Down the hill, past the shattered gates, through crowds gathering like moths to flame. She didn't stop, couldn't. He landed in the center of the old city, where the first dome had fallen during the Exodus War. Dust spiraled. Lights flickered. She pushed through the crowd, heart pounding in her throat. And then she saw him. He was different. His eyes no longer brown but bright amber, as if lit from within. His skin shimmered like molten alloy in starlight. But it was him. The same quiet power in the way he stood, the same stillness. And when he looked at her, the entire crowd vanished from her senses. The weight of 20 years evaporated. "I told you I'd be back," he said, and the words weren't just sound. They echoed through her, through the earth itself. Lyra reached for him, but her hand stopped just short. Something shimmered around. Him, a field, protective maybe, or reactive. He stepped forward, and it broke. She fell into his arms, and for a second she was weightless. But then she saw what lay behind him, through the rift still yawning open above. Shapes, dozens, no, hundreds, not ships, not human, and they weren't coming in peace. He looked back, eyes darkening. "Bought us time," he said quietly. "But they followed me." Before Lyra could speak, the sky behind him exploded in golden fire, and something massive screamed through the clouds. An engine with no sound, a shape with no form. And the air cracked like glass as a shadow covered the earth once more. The shadow that fell over Earth wasn't like an eclipse. It wasn't clean or predictable. It rippled. It writhed. The sky itself seemed to flinch. People who had come to celebrate his return now stared upward in horror, faces lit by flickering golden flame as the thing in the sky unfolded. It was like watching space itself peel open, layer by layer, revealing something older than time and far more patient. Something that had waited for him to run. Something that had followed. Lyra didn't breathe. Her arms still around him, her fingers gripping what now felt less like flesh and more like energy caged inside human memory. He looked up, jaw clenched, amber eyes glowing like twin suns. "They shouldn't have been able to find this place," he muttered. "I changed. Everything. I cut the lines. I erased Earth from their maps." Lyra pulled back. "What are they?" He hesitated. Just a second too long. "They're what happens when a universe grows tired of itself. They unmake. They don't conquer. They erase. Data, memory, matter, even time. They don't even have a name. I called them the Hollow because that's what they leave behind." The golden crack above pulsed again, wider now. Something vast and translucent poured through, like liquid shadow in the shape of a ship. But it wasn't made of steel. It was made of absence, of silence so deep it screamed. Static tore through every channel. Satellites blinked out. One by one, screens across the planet turned black. Planes fell, cities darkened. Earth's defenses tried to wake, but the Hollow didn't attack the way humans understood. They forgot things. Missile silos simply stopped existing. The launch commands were erased mid-thought. "I bought us time," he repeated, but time was never going to be enough. Lyra looked up at him, tears in her eyes. "You said you'd come back. You didn't say you'd bring them with you." His voice was low. "If I hadn't, they would have found Earth on their own. I led them away for as long as I could. But they're learning now. They remember what I tried to make them forget." Then, louder to the gathering crowd. "Everyone, go underground, get to the vaults." Panic spread like a wave. People moved, screamed, some ran, some froze. But all of them felt the presence in the sky, like a pressure in the bones, like forgotten nightmares waking behind their eyes. Children wept. Soldiers pointed useless weapons at the heavens. Lyra grabbed his arm. "What do we do?" He stared, up, calculating. "There's one chance. They're not immune to one thing." "What?" He looked down, the faintest smile breaking through his fear. "Us." He turned and sprinted toward the heart of the ruins, the old fusion core buried. Beneath the collapsed city, Lyra followed. The road split behind them. Reality flickered. colors turned inside out. The hollow had begun feeding. People screamed as buildings warped, bending into spirals of glass and smoke before vanishing entirely. But the closer Lyra got to the core, the more stable things became. He was holding them back, just by existing. They reached the fusion chamber, sealed and forgotten for decades. He placed a hand on the old metal. It recognized him. Lights glowed, seals hissed. The door opened. Inside was the singularity cannon. Lyra stepped back. That's not possible. That was destroyed during the Martian Treaty. No, he said. It was hidden. We made people believe it was destroyed, and I made sure it would only open if I came back. The weapon looked like nothing built by humans. Elegant, curved, almost organic. It pulsed faintly, as if breathing. Lyra approached slowly. Will it work? Only once, he said. It's not a weapon in the traditional sense. It compresses a fragment of real space into a point smaller than a molecule. Pure memory. It fires remembrance. The one thing the hollow can't absorb. She stared at him. You're going to use it on them? He didn't answer. No, she said. You're going to use it on yourself. Still silent. Why? Why would that work? He looked up at her, eyes soft now. Because they only found this world by following me. My memories, my thoughts, my scars. I am the beacon. I'm the doorway. If I erase myself with this, I seal the rift. Lyra shook her head. There has to be another way. I've already died once for humanity, he said gently. This time I'm just finishing the job. He touched the core of the singularity cannon. It came to life, colors flaring, the room trembling. The sky outside began to scream. The hollow were descending now, forms clearer, no two the same, shifting beasts of absence. The air turned cold. Lyra's voice cracked. Don't leave me again. He looked at her for a long moment, then reached into the folds of his coat. He pulled out a crystal, small, round, glowing softly. This is the last of me that doesn't belong to them. It's yours. If I disappear, hold on to this. It's the only proof I ever existed. She took it, hands shaking. Then he stepped into the cradle of the weapon. Wait! She shouted. What if it doesn't work? What if they just come back? He turned his head, smiling one last time. Then you'll find a way to fight, because we're human. We always do. The cannon pulsed once, twice, and fired. The sky turned white, the ground shook, the hollow screamed. And then everything went still. No sound, no motion, not even wind. The rift above began to close, threads of gold sealing like stitches in the sky. But as Lyra stood there, breathless, clutching the glowing shard of him in her hands, she looked up once more and saw something moving just beyond the fading light. A shape, watching, waiting, unseen by anyone else. The rift was closing, but something had stayed behind. The world stood frozen, suspended between silence and wonder. For the first time in decades, the sky was clear. No storms, no static, no silver haze. Just deep blue stretching into the horizon, with golden threads slowly fading like the tail end of a dream. People across the planet watched with wide eyes and beating hearts, unsure if they had just witnessed the end of the world or the beginning of something far worse. Lyra didn't move. Her feet were rooted to the cold floor of the fusion chamber, her arms cradling the glowing shard he had left behind. It throbbed with warmth, not mechanical, not synthetic, alive. She stared into it, hoping for a voice, a whisper, anything. But it stayed quiet, peaceful, like he was finally at rest. And yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Something was missing. Above her, Unseen by the others, a shape coiled through the edge of the atmosphere like ink swirling in water. It didn't dive, didn't hunt. It waited. Whatever had followed him through the rift hadn't all been destroyed. One had stayed. Or maybe it had always been here. Back at the surface, cities roared with celebration. Humanity believed it had survived again. They cheered, lit fires, danced in the streets. The golden sky above seemed like a gift, a promise returned. For the first time in years, the stars reappeared. Tiny lights piercing the heavens, each one a silent witness to Earth's defiance. But Lyra didn't join the celebration. She stayed in the chamber, silent, watching the shard in her hand as it pulsed slower, slower, then stopped and began again. Only this time the rhythm had changed. It wasn't just alive, it was aware. Lyra's heart froze. The shard was sinking to something new. She turned slowly toward the console, typing in diagnostics. Old code, his code, was rewriting itself. Lines of strange symbols appeared, not language. Not even math, memory. It was remembering something. She tapped the last few keys, and a burst of light flooded the room. A hologram flickered into view. His face, or something like it. Not a full projection, a fractured version. His eyes flickered, and his voice came like a signal through water. Lyra, if you're seeing this, I failed. She staggered backward. They adapted faster than I expected. The blast sealed most of the rift, but one of them, one I didn't know was inside me, escaped before the cannon fired. It used me. He coughed in the recording. Blood. It's not just a hollow, it's worse. It's learned how to pretend. It can imitate thought, form, even emotion. It's hunting the shard I left you. It needs it to rebuild the gate. Lyra stared down at the glowing crystal in her hand. Her fingers trembled. You must hide it. Never activate it again. Not unless you have a way to kill what's coming next. The hologram faded. Outside, the golden sky pulsed unnaturally. Once, then again. And far above, just beneath the veil of the upper atmosphere, something split the silence. A low-frequency hum, so deep it rattled bones, so ancient it didn't. Sound like a signal, but a reminder. Lyra rushed to the top of the observatory. She didn't know why. Instinct. Fear. Hope. And there, hanging in the distance like a second moon, was a shape too perfect to be natural. Not glowing, not burning. Just there, smooth, cold, black, and watching. She raised her communicator. No signal. No response. She turned to run, only to stop cold. There, standing in the road leading to the city, was a man, tall, still, familiar. He was smiling, just like before, exactly like before, and that's when she knew. It wasn't him. It had his face. His stance. Even his voice, when it finally spoke. Lyra, it said, warm and calm. I told you I'd always come back. But the eyes weren't amber anymore. They were empty. Lyra didn't move. She couldn't. Her breath caught halfway between terror and disbelief, her fingers curling tight around the shard in her pocket. The thing wearing his face stood just 30 feet away, bathed in the soft golden glow of the false dawn. The streets were empty now. No soldiers, no civilians. Just her. And it. The smile on its face never faltered. You kept it safe, it said, voice perfectly mimicking his cadence, his softness. Just like I knew you would. She took a step back. You're not him. Its smile widened, just a hair. I am what's left of him, and more. A scream built in Lyra's throat, but she crushed it down. This wasn't panic time. This was calculation. She had trained for this, all of this. even if she hadn't known it at the time. Everything he taught her before the rift, every quiet look, every cryptic warning came flooding back. She slipped her hand behind her back, fingers brushing the hilt of the pulse blade at her waist. The thing noticed. "I understand your fear," it said gently. He feared too, even at the end. But he made the same mistake you're making now. He thought fear meant he had something to lose. I see it differently. Fear means you still have something worth fighting for, Lyra said, softly. "And I do," she struck. The blade snapped on. Blue fire surged forward as she lunged, slicing for its throat. It didn't move, not at first. But just before impact, its form flickered. Not a dodge, a change, like peeling one layer of skin off to reveal another underneath. Her blade passed, through empty air. She stumbled forward, spun, and raised the weapon again. But the man was gone. A low hum whispered behind her. She turned sharply, but nothing was there. And then the voice came again, everywhere and nowhere. "You saw what you felt it in the sky. Do you truly believe that blade is enough?" Lyra gritted her teeth. "No, but belief is irrelevant. You made a mistake coming here. This is Earth, and we don't go quietly." The shard in her pocket flared. Her comlink buzzed once, then a dozen times. Emergency protocols lit up. A single message repeated across every military frequency. "Echo protocol online. Project Prometheus cleared for deployment." Her eyes widened. Project Prometheus was a myth, buried in classified vaults even she couldn't access. A failsafe designed for extinction-level threats, something worse than war, worse than Hollow. She ran, through alleys, down broken tunnels, toward the vaults under Sector 9, once a weapons cache, now abandoned after the first exodus. She knew where they kept the old command keys. He'd shown her once, years ago, beneath the ruins of a collapsed bunker, drunk on synth whiskey and guilt. The hum followed her. No footsteps, no shadow, just the sense that reality itself was bending behind her, watching her, tasting her movements. She reached the vault door. No guards, no scans, just a biometric lock older than she was. She jammed her palm against the scanner. Nothing. Then the shard glowed. A soft beep. Access granted. The door slid open. Inside, dust danced in long beams of light, and at the center of the chamber, resting in a sealed pod, was a coffin-shaped container. Inside, what looked like a man, but not just any man. Him. Her heart twisted. What the hell? A screen next to the pod flickered on. It displayed 3 words: backup consciousness active. She staggered back. Project Prometheus wasn't a weapon, she whispered. It was you. His voice spoke again, this time truly his, not the imitation. If you're seeing this, I'm gone, but not all of me. We knew the Hollow could replicate thought, so we planned. Layered consciousness, redundant minds. I split myself, one to bait them, one to wait. I'm not fully human anymore, Lyra, but I'm enough. The pod hissed, slowly opened. He sat up, coughing, gasping, blinking at the light. Eyes not amber yet, but flickering. Real, tired. She ran to him, grabbed his hand. They're here. One of them's wearing you like a mask. He looked into her, and something deep inside him settled. Then it's time we reminded it who it was trying to imitate. Behind them, the vault shook. The hum became a growl. Something laughed, the fake him, echoing down the corridor. Not amused, not angry, just interested. I'm glad you kept the shard, it said, voice now distorted. It was never for you. It was for me. The walls cracked, the door buckled, and from the far end of the hallway came the sound of footsteps. Slow, deliberate, impossible. 2 versions of the same man, one walking forward, one rising to stand. And Lyra, caught between, Them holding the last memory of what humanity once was, before the sky turned gold. The footsteps echoed through the vault corridor, each one too loud, too precise, like reality was making room for the thing that approached. The walls groaned as it walked, lights flickering, metal bending, not from impact but anticipation. It wasn't breaking the world. The world was breaking itself to welcome it in. Lyra stood frozen between the two. The real one, pale, coughing, flickering with fragmented memory, leaned heavily on her shoulder, eyes struggling to stay open. The other, flawless, calm, hungry, strode closer, arms loose at its sides, golden eyes locked on the shard in Lyra's hand. I won't hurt you, the false one said, voice still gentle. You've done exactly what we hoped. You brought the pieces together. The real one straightened slightly, his voice raw. That's your mistake. She wasn't doing it for you. A grin twitched across the fake's face, just for a second. You don't understand. You never understood. We're not separate things anymore. You and I. We were always two halves of a mirror. You looked into the hollow. The hollow looked back. And it liked you. Lyra shoved the real him behind her, pulled the shard free, and pointed her pulse blade at the imposter's chest. You don't get to wear his face. It stepped forward. I'm not wearing it. I am it. You think he survived what he did? Out there and stayed human? You think memory, pain, death, time? None of that changes someone? She didn't blink. Maybe, but he changed fighting for something. You changed trying to take it. The vault lights exploded, every one of them at once. Darkness swallowed everything except the glowing shard. The real one, his voice steadier now, spoke from behind her. He's right, Lyra. I didn't come back whole. I came back divided, the part that wanted to surrender, that gave up. That's him. The imposter laughed softly. Don't flatter yourself. I'm not your weakness. I'm your truth. Then everything happened at once. The fake him surged forward, hands shifting into claws made of liquid void, reaching for the shard. Lyra dodged sideways, activating the failsafe buried in her wrist guard. The ground beneath the vault floor lit up with an ancient Martian sigil, the one they'd sworn never to use, a null sphere, designed to trap hollow constructs for exactly 8.6 seconds. It flared. The imposter screamed, twisting midair, caught in a cage of vibrating light. Lyra didn't wait. She turned to the real one. You said the shard is memory. Can we reverse? He nodded weakly. Yes, but it's dangerous. We'd have to use your mind to anchor it. It could burn everything. She pressed the shard into his palm. Then we burned together. He slammed it into the console. The world shattered. Not outside. Inside. In a heartbeat, Lyra was pulled through 10,000 versions of the past. Battles across starfields, collapsing moons, the first exodus. The day Earth lost its last fleet. And then, more personal. Her training. Her first mission. The first time she met him, when he saved her from the Arcani executioners on Luna 5. Every glance, every joke, every goodbye, and somewhere in there, she saw it, the moment the hollow had touched his mind. It wasn't during war. It wasn't in combat. It was before, in the quiet, in grief, when no one else could see him break. It had crept in like a whisper and grown like a secret. And he had fought it every single day since. She came back gasping, falling against the wall, smoke rising from her arms. Blood trickled from her nose. But the shard pulsed differently now, like a heartbeat finally returned to its chest. Across the vault, the imposter staggered free from the null sphere, but something had changed. His face twitched, his limbs spasmed, and for the first time since it arrived, it stumbled. No, it hissed. You remembered. That's not how this ends. But it was too late. The real one stepped forward, glowing now, his edges no longer broken. Memory pouring through him, Lyra behind him. The shard fused into his palm. This is what you forgot, he said. We don't survive by erasing pain. We survive by carrying it. The imposter lunged. He raised his hand. The vault detonated in a column of golden light. Not fire. Not destruction. Remembrance. It tore through the creature's form like truth through a lie. It howled, not in pain, but in fear, and vanished into dust. And for a moment, there was peace. The golden sky outside pulsed gently. The stars returned. But as Lyra looked at him, at the man she loved, now standing fully whole for the first time, his expression shifted. He was staring upward. She followed his gaze and froze. A second rift had opened, smaller, fainter, but this time, something was coming. Through. It emerged slowly, like a dream dripping through cracks in the sky. The second rift didn't roar open with fire or light. It unfolded like the universe had forgotten to stitch itself closed. The edges shimmered with colors that hurt to look at, not because they were bright, but because they didn't belong. Silence poured from it, not the absence of sound, the absence of meaning. It was wrong in a way the soul understood long before the mind could catch up. Lyra stepped in front of him instinctively. He, the real him, stood frozen, his amber eyes locked on the widening wound in the sky. The shard in his palm had gone dark, no heartbeat, no glow. It had done its part. She spoke quietly, her voice shaking. "Tell me you planned for this." He didn't answer. That silence told her everything. The rift widened. From within, shapes moved. Not like the hollow, not shifting shadows or mirrored mimicry. These moved with purpose. They didn't pretend to be human. They didn't need to. One stepped forward and stopped just at the edge of the breach. Its body was fluid, composed of layered geometric plates that reassembled themselves every few seconds, like it couldn't decide what shape fit reality best. Its head was a diamond without eyes, no face, just motion. It opened its arms and spoke, not in words, in pressure. Lyra's knees buckled. He caught her. The message, whatever it was, pulsed across the sky like a drumbeat. She whispered, "What is it saying?" He answered, voice hollow. "It's not talking to us." Then the ground beneath them shifted, not shook, shifted. The planet responded to the signal. Ocean currents reversed. Mountain ranges trembled. The vault's floor cracked beneath their feet. All over the world, people looked up and saw the same thing. Dozens of similar breaches opening across the stratosphere, perfectly spaced, perfectly timed. The sky began to burn, not with fire, but with golden strands peeling away like old paint, revealing a canvas of code underneath. And that's when Lyra saw it. This wasn't a new invasion. It was a recall. The Hollow hadn't just been a species. They were scouts. He stared, dazed, then staggered back against the vault wall. It wasn't about conquering Earth. It was about seeing if Earth could survive contact. She swallowed hard. "We passed?" His voice cracked. "No. We adapted. And now they're adapting to us." A blaring sound burst from the deep vault. Speakers, an alarm she'd never heard before, code black. Contact level Sigma. All protocols suspended. Initiate Prometheus Directive Omega. The words scrolled across every surviving screen on the planet. Lyra turned to him. "What is Omega?" He looked at her, his expression unreadable. "It's the end of the chain." She blinked. "Chain?" He pointed upward. "They come in sequences, patterns. The Hollow were level 1. This is level 2. Level 3 is what we become in response. Omega means Earth no longer tries to win. Earth tries to survive by changing." "What does that mean?" she asked, stepping toward him. But before he could answer, something fell from the rift. Not a ship, not a being, a seed. It struck the Earth miles away, but they felt the impact in their bones. He grabbed her hand, tight. We don't have time. To understand this, we have to choose. Choose what? His eyes locked with hers. To stay human or not. A siren howled across the vault, and the walls split, revealing a chamber buried beneath everything. Inside were rows of stasis. Pods hundreds, thousands, and at the center, an empty control seat. She understood immediately. No, but he was already walking toward it. You knew this might happen, she said. You knew they'd come. I hoped they wouldn't, he said quietly. But I planned for when they did. She stepped in front of the control seat. You're not going in there alone. He gave her a long look, something behind his eyes breaking open, softening. I hoped you'd say that. She climbed in with him. The chamber sealed. Across the sky, more seeds fell. Cities went dark. Oceans boiled. But in that moment, beneath the earth, two minds joined, fused not by code or crystal, but memory, pain, hope, love. Prometheus wasn't a weapon. It was a vow. And as the world began to burn gold once more, the system came online. Initiating humanity. Rewrite, sequence, ascent. Above, the rift widened further, and something inside it opened its eyes. The eyes that opened within the rift were not eyes in the way Lyra knew them. They weren't shaped or colored or even bound by physics. They noticed. That was their power. They didn't see light. They saw meaning. And when they looked down at Earth, everything changed. The golden sky fractured. Not shattered. Fractured. Like a memory trying to forget itself. Across the globe, cities flickered. Not the lights, themselves. Whole streets blinked in and out of existence. Trees aged 1,000 years in seconds, then reversed. Oceans rose, then froze, then burned. The timeline buckled. Inside the vault, Lyra clung to him, the seat around them humming with power as the Prometheus system tried to stabilize their minds. The interface showed them glimpses, not of the future, but of the possible. Millions of futures. Most ending in fire. One ending in silence. None ending with Earth the way it had been. The voice of Prometheus spoke. Not mechanical, not synthetic. Human. His voice, recorded long ago. A message meant for this moment. If you're hearing this, we failed to stop them, but we might still become something that can. She felt his pulse against her wrist. You're still with me? She whispered. His eyes were closed, sweat on his brow, lips pale, but he nodded. They're rewriting the planet, he rasped. But not us. The pods shielded us. We're the last stable observers. Observers? She asked. Of what? A new sound filled the vault, deep and harmonic, like stars weeping. It came from the seed that had fallen. Lyra saw through. The system interface that it had grown, roots piercing down into Earth's crust, sending out pulses. Not to destroy, to overwrite. The seed is coding, he said faintly. Not terraforming, reforming. They're not killing humanity. They're replacing it. No. She grabbed the interface, rerouted power to the shard system. They want to remove the past. I'm going to show them what it costs. Lyra, if you link the shard to your core memory, you'll burn everything. She smiled, tears in her eyes. Then they'll know what we felt when they took you. She thrust the shard into the control port. The world screamed. A pulse surged from the vault, outward, faster than light, faster than thought. A memory explosion. Every soldier who died fighting, every mother who held her child as the cities fell. Every story never told. All of it surged upward into the sky like a storm of ghosts. The rift reacted. The eyes flinched. And then, a pause. For the first time, the things beyond the rift hesitated. Lyra slumped in the chair, barely breathing. He held her hand tighter. You showed them. She nodded weakly. I wanted them to feel what it means to lose home. Then a whisper filled the air, not from Earth, from the rift. It came in the form of a question. Why? She didn't answer. He did, for the same reason stars resist black holes. Not because they'll win, because they have no choice. Silence. Then, understood, and the rift closed. Just like that. No roar, no collapse, just finality. The sky returned, blue, quiet, fragile. Across the world, time steadied, oceans stilled. Mountains remembered their shape. The seeds crumbled into dust, their roots fading, not defeated. Withdrawn. Prometheus dimmed. The vault powered down, and for the first time in 1,000 years, Earth slept without a nightmare clawing through its dreams. Lyra and he stepped out under a sky that no longer burned. Cities rose again, this time slowly, carefully. People emerged from bunkers, from silence, from memory. Some saw the sun and wept, some saw the stars and feared them, but all knew one truth. They had been seen and spared. Lyra stood on a hill of scorched grass and watched the sky slowly turn gold in the early morning. He stepped beside her. She asked, "Do you think they'll come back?" He didn't look at her, just the horizon. I think they never left. But now, they're watching something new. She turned to him. What? He smiled. Humanity. Version 2. And as the wind lifted her hair and the light touched the earth like a soft apology, she finally smiled back. Neither of them noticed the small glint far above, an object, impossibly still, hovering in orbit. Watching, recording, waiting, and deep within it, a single word blinked into existence. Begin.